I used to be an adventurer like you, and I took an arrow in the knee.
Hey guys! So today I thought it would be fun to talk about some of my Skyrim husbands and describe what I liked about them, what I didn't, which ones I'd recommend, and why. So, in my first playthrough, which was when the game first came out back in 2011 or 12 or whenever that was, I was playing a two-handed warrior, a dark elf, and I married Marcurio.
My skill in battle is unmatched. Fortunately for you, that skill can be bought.
I think what I liked about him was, first of all, as a follower, he's really strong. He's probably the strongest follower that I've encountered in the game. There were actually times as a two-handed warrior when I would be going into battle, I'd have my battle axe ready for action, and then the enemy would just drop dead in front of me because Marcurio was behind me shooting fireballs. And it was great because I didn't have to stress about battle as much. I'm one of those people, I like to have a strong follower at my side so that I don't have to worry. And Marcurio was definitely that way, so that was really cool. Now, if you are looking for a husband who is more human, you know, because in Skyrim there's all kinds of spouses you can have, and there's lots of different races like orcs and Argonians, you know, Imperials and Nords. So you have lots of options in terms of who you want to marry, and it doesn't have to be a human type, but Marcurio is a human type. I really liked his look. I thought he's good looking, you know, if that's what you're going for, he's a good choice. And I think because Marcurio is a follower, it meant that I was able to go on lots of adventures with him and make lots of memories with him, which is kind of fun because I get really into the role playing in games like Skyrim, and so it was really cool to actually be able to go on adventures with the character who was going to be my character's spouse, you know? It's like we would go exploring these Dwemer ruins and Marcurio would have things to say about them because he really liked them too. And overall, I really liked his personality, although I must be honest in saying that he has a lot of attitude.
I am an apprentice wizard, not a pack mule. Oh, very well, but make it quick.
So, you know, if you don't like any bitchiness, I wouldn't recommend him. Now, my second playthrough, I married Scouts-Many-Marshes, who is an Argonian that you meet in Windhelm. I met him on the docks, I did a mission for him, and then we got married. It was really simple. And one thing that I liked about him is that he is actually not a follower. So, because the thing about Skyrim is that your followers can actually die in the game. And that happened with Marcurio, my first playthrough. He died in a Dwemer ruin, and I had to reload my save like a few times because he kept dying in the same place. So that's why in this case I married Scouts-Many-Marshes, and it was cool because he is not a follower. So he just goes to your house and he cooks for you and he makes money for you and he's safe at home. You don't have to worry about that. He's an Argonian, so he's kind of a reptile type, which I liked. I liked his scales. I thought he had kind of a sexy voice. So I was into him.
The Stormcloaks are gone, and so is their prejudice.
But after a while, because he was always at home, I think I wanted adventures with somebody. You know, I kind of missed that about Marcurio, and I felt like, you know, I had this spouse in Skyrim, but I never saw him because I was always out doing something, and he couldn't come with me. The other thing is that because Scouts-Many-Marshes wasn't a follower, I couldn't change his clothes, which sounds like such a superficial thing, but I got really tired of looking at his white tunic and he's got these trousers, you know, with his tail sticking out the back, and I wanted to like dress him. I wanted to like do some role playing, you know, with his character too, and I couldn't really do that. So after a while, I got a little bored with him. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but I think if you are into Argonians, he is definitely the hottest Argonian in the game. So I would recommend him for that reason alone. Just be prepared for the fact that, you know, he's not a follower. He's not like an exciting guy, really. He's a stable house husband type. For my next husband, I went with a follower that I didn't want to die on me. That's what I was worried about with Marcurio. And so I liked Scouts-Many-Marshes because he's Argonian, but I didn't like that he was always at home. I liked Marcurio because he was a follower, but I didn't like that he could die on me. So I discovered there's this bug in the game with an Argonian named Derkeethus. He's being kept in this cave, like in a cell, near this mining village. And so you have to go and rescue him. And if you do not complete the quest, because he is part of the quest, he won't die. I think that's how it works. So I did that, and I got him as a follower, and then I married him, and it was awesome because he didn't die on me. However, he wasn't really as helpful as I thought he was gonna be because I definitely out-leveled him pretty fast. And so after a while, he would just fall in battle and he'd be on his knees and he'd say he needed help and he couldn't fight anymore. So I would basically be on my own for the rest of the battle, or I'd have to go and heal him, which was actually really distracting because he fell so often. So like I honestly have so many memories of Derkeethus. He has these fireballs in his hands and he's like frozen because he's injured and he can't do anything to help me. So for that reason, I wouldn't recommend him as a follower. You know, just because he's invincible doesn't make him very strong. I thought Marcurio was a much more useful follower, and he stayed with me for a long time. The other thing about Derkeethus is that he does not live at your house even after you marry him, because that's one of the fun things about getting married in Skyrim, is that your spouse will live at whatever house you want them to live in. But for some reason, Derkeethus is bugged, and so he keeps going back to his mining village. So I kept having to pick him up there, and that was kind of disappointing because I wanted to also be at home with him, and like then I could just pick him up every time I went home. I would know where he was, but in this case I had to keep going back to the village and picking him up, and it got a little old, I would say. I think maybe he had some commitment issues, but you know, I mean, other than that, if you want an invincible Argonian follower, he's out there. But I would recommend, you know, either go Scouts-Many-Marshes for the Argonian, because he's the hottest Argonian in the game, or choose a stronger follower, I would say. And Marcurio for me was by far the best, so I would definitely recommend him. Now in my latest playthrough, I married Ghorbash the Iron-Hand, who was an orc follower, and I really liked him. I thought he was awesome. It's kind of my current playthrough, although I haven't played in a few months. So I'm still kicking it with him, and he's still battling with me. He's still really strong, even though it's been several levels since we got together. And what I love about him is that he has this whole culture that's part of his history because he's an orc. And even though they're not very trustful of outsiders, once you're in with the orcs, they're actually really warm people and they really take care of each other. And so he's actually a little bit conflicted about whether he should leave his tribe to come travel with you or whether he should stay where he is to be with his people. And in the past, he was an imperial soldier and he was a traveler and an adventurer. And so you can convince him to be your follower and to go on these adventures again with you.
I was known as Ghorbash in those days, in honor of my homeland. Many orcs leave the stronghold to join the Legion. They welcome our skill in battle and smithing, and we welcome the chance to see the world.
I will also say that Ghorbash is the most masculine of all of the people that I've married in Skyrim so far. He has a really strong underbite, you know, really big orc teeth, if you're into that. And he's lasted for a long time. Like I said, as a follower, he's been with me for several levels, and I'm not too worried about him yet in terms of him being able to keep up with me and not fall in battle. He's a follower. He wears what you want him to wear, and he'll go to your house and live there. So even when he's ready to retire, like, I'm really excited to just have him living at my house, and I can go visit him there, and I think we'll have a nice life together. He's a pretty perfect husband, I think.
A warrior marches on the gut. Here, this should give you strength. I'll cook another tomorrow.